Hi, Mei.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good.
So, welcome back to Fanfiction Theater Month, everybody. So, last week we got through the spiciness that was the Voltron fanfictions. Real quick, what did you think of those Voltron fics?
They were good.
They were hot. 10 out of 10. Mm-hmm. So, today is the start of week number 2. In week number 2, we are covering Persona 5. We announced it on week 1. But hey, this week is Persona 5 fanfiction, and today we're going to be reading some steamy fanfiction between a Joker and a crow.
Craw. The pairing is Akishu, guys. That's how you pronounce it.
Akishu?
Akishu, yeah. Cause,
that is the worst pairing, man.
Akechi.
Did you hear the sound of that toilet over there? That's the sound of that ship going down the toilet, because it's garbage. For those of you who don't know, Goro Akechi is the worst character in Persona 5. Mei, no, Mei. Ryuji Sakamoto is the best boy. Ryuji is
Third.
Ryuji is best.
Third boy.
Shut the fuck up. Goro is okay.
First boy.
Goro is... You ready? So, Kamoshida's bottom of the list, right?
He's very bottom of the list.
Okay, Goro's right above Kamoshida.
Oh, man.
Goro's right above Kamoshida.
Kamoshida's
Goro is the fucking worst.
Nah, man.
All of the Akechi fangirls are so mad at me right now.
Not mad. You're wrong.
Let's restart this episode once more.
Once more?
Hi, Mei.
Hello.
Welcome back to Fanfiction Theater Month. This week, last week, we covered Voltron. This week, we're covering Persona 5.
I never saw that coming.
Whoa,
Wow.
dude, it's the last surprise. Dude, I wonder how many surprises we're going to have in these fanfictions.
I don't know. Too many to count. It won't be the last one.
It won't be the last surprise. Well, there you go. So, this week, we're going to cover two. Well, one of them is a cute fic, at least from what we read in the summary.
Oh, yeah.
The other one is really steamy, and that's today's fanfiction.
Yeah.
So the name of today's fanfiction is Coffee with Cream. It is a, what was it called? Akishu?
Akishu.
Akishu?
Goro's last name is Akechi, and I guess in Japan, I don't know how they pronounce the name, but it's like Shu something. So that's where they get the...
Shu Tsukiyama.
Yes. That's where they get the Akishu from. Same with Yusuke. They say Shukita.
Shukita. Okay, because...
Yusuke's last
Shusuke.
name is Kitagawa. Shukita or something like that. Whatever. It's regardless, you get the idea.
So let me read you the summary of this Persona 5 steamy Akechi Akira fanfiction.
We'll just say that, yeah.
The route to the treasure is secure. Now the Phantom Thieves must wait until the deadline before they can strike. Haru suggests a sleepover. Now the 9 of them lay sprawled across various spare mattresses in LeBlanc's attic. Akira was surprised that Akechi agreed to the party. He was even more surprised when, upon allocating sleep space, Akechi agreed to share his bed. And he should really have expected that there was more surprises to follow. Damn, son. Woo. Alright, let's jump right on in. So apparently I can't stop writing Ake.
There you go. Yeah.
Smut. God help me, I'm falling.
I think Slutty Akechi is my new fave. I like Slutty Akechi too.
Slutty Akechi?
That's a good thing. Wink wonk. Would you like me to start?
Editing Greg, censor this next part out.
I'm gonna start.
Alright, so here we go. Remember, you're reading for Bitch Kechi, and I'm reading for the awesome Akira.
What about the other characters? We gotta
Ryuji is mine, you can't have him.
Straps the world, why don't you?
Ryuji! Okay, go ahead.
A faint beam of moonlight cast itself through the window, softly illuminating Kira's face. His weary eyes stared up at the dusty ceiling, and he sighed. He couldn't put a name to whatever was keeping him awake, but it seemed like any of the others were having this problem. Tilting his head slightly, he looked over at the 7 thieves to his left. An, Makoto, and Haru were snuggled happily together under a large plaid blanket. That's really cute.
That's actually adorable, yeah.
Futaba occupied the couch, curled up in the center. Yusuke and Ryuji were top and tail on a... What the frick is top and tail?
Okay, so top and tail? Trust me, I've had guy sleepovers before. So when you're teenagers and you have sleepovers, you don't want to sleep face to face with one another, so you go top and tail. So one guy lays on one way in the bed, and then the other guy is going the other way.
Okay,
so basically, one guy has his head at the head of the bed and his feet at the foot of the bed, and the other guy is flipped the other way. His head is at the foot of the bed, and then his feet are at the head of the bed. Even though if you think about it in hindsight, that's better for 69ing and a lot more awkward because you can wake up with crotch in your face. But when you're teenage boys that don't want to touch each other's ding-dangs, it's like, it's just fine.
They don't want to be homos with each other.
Yeah, I know. They're basically like, bloop, and the other one is on the other side, like, bloop, and then they're good to go.
All right.
They're bros.
All right. Top and tail on a particularly worn mattress, and Morgana had finally settled down. He moved all around the room for a comfy place, eventually hiding on the shelf among a stack of books and a decorative ramen bowl.
Oh, I have the ramen bowl in mind, yeah.
As far as Akira could tell, they were all sound asleep. Made sense when he'd last snuck downstairs, desperate for water. The clock had read 3 a.m. That was probably about half an hour ago, too. It's not as though he wasn't tired. The party had been a blast, and when everyone decided to turn in, Akira had felt satisfied. They then decided on who should sleep where. I called dibs! Futaba shot across from the stairs, leaping onto the sofa and snickering with a victorious fist pump.
Yeah!
Makoto went on and laughed while Ryuji groaned, glancing over the weathered mattress in the corner.
Guess it's that one for me, huh?
I shall lie whichever way you do not, I think. Yusuke stepped over
See?
Yusuke stepped over a bundle of fabric to reach the mattress. I have been told there is more comfortable, although I have yet to find out myself.
Yeah, sure, whatever.
So Futaba on the couch, you two over there. I think we should be good here. Makoto patted the duvet beside her, and both An and Haru nodded. Obviously our leader's accounted for. Morgana can just sleep wherever, I guess. So that just leaves Akechi, right? Akechi, previously silent by the stairway, hummed in agreement. Scanning the attic floor, Makoto furrowed her brow. I don't think there's room on the one Ryuji and Yusuke have. I'm not sharing this. Futaba lifted her legs up and curled into a ball in the middle of the seat. I like small spaces, but I don't like being stuck in them with others. That's fine. 2 people would be a bit much for that anyway, but Makoto trailed off.
Hey, ain't the bed big enough?
Ryuji
followed Yusuke to the corner. I mean, it can't be any worse than what I gotta deal with.
Is that not too cramped? Akira butted in, sat by his pillow. I mean, that big city apartment of yours probably has a roomy bed, right? He looked over at the detective, who simply shook his head. Weren't you going to be Akira?
You just read it.
Sorry.
You stole my line.
Sorry.
Actually, you know what? I will be Akechi.
What?
I will be Akechi.
Okay. He simply shook his head and smiled.
What?
I'm just fast reading one.
I'll be fine sharing with you, I think. No, legit. Let me tap into my inner Robbie Damon. Are you ready?
I am ready.
All right. Here we go. I'm trying not to do a dumb voice. I'll be fine sharing with you, I think. Actually, while my apartment does have a double bed, I usually end up falling asleep on the sofa in the main room. Late work nights will do that to you, you know.
Akechi chuckled softly, and Makoto sighed with relief. Then that's everyone sorted then, Haru chimed in, flopping down between An and Makoto. Akira nodded, still looking at Akechi. The detective's sleeper was the same simple gray and black style that Akira was wearing, while everyone else's was much more personalized and colorful. His shirt looked a bit large for him, baggy enough to hang slightly off one shoulder, a surprisingly sharp collarbone on display. Akira glanced away, biting his lip. That was not a detail he should have noticed.
Of course not.
When he glanced back, Akechi's relaxed smile was still present, but the more Akira looked into his eyes, the more his chest started to tighten. There was something present in that expression. He couldn't identify it clearly, but it was still there. He shivered. He suddenly wasn't very tired anymore.
It's because editing, Greg, edit that out.
Aware that everyone to his left was asleep, Akira very carefully turned himself back and tilted his head to look at the last thief left between him and the wall. He was met with a pair of red-brown eyes and a smile.
You awake?
Oh, wait, that's mine. Oh, wait, no.
That's Akira.
Okay.
Oh, wait, no. I'm reading Akechi. You'll be Akira.
Yeah, I'm Akira now. Okay. You're awake? Akira whispered, eyes widening. Akechi let out a gentle laugh.
Perhaps I'm just sleeping with my eyes open.
His breathy voice tickled Akira's neck, who felt something in his chest fluttered.
I'm more surprised that you're not asleep.
Akira sighed. I just can't for some reason.
Not used to sharing?
He didn't really get it, but Akira felt his breath catch in his throat. Maybe that was it, he supposed, but it seemed such a simple reason, and he struggled to believe it. He furrowed his brow as he looked at Akechi, still smiling innocently. His hair clung to the sides of his face, fringe sticking up messily at the edges. Something about seeing this, the charismatic detective with his regal, attractive public appearance stripped away, made an unfamiliar feeling sit in Akira's stomach. The feeling grew with every detail he noticed, the sleepless puffiness under Akechi's eyes, the way the moonlight danced over his cheekbones and caught on his lips. Yeah, maybe, was all he could choke out in reply. Akechi's eyes creased as he smiled.
You seem nervous. Don't tell me you're uncomfortable sharing a bed with me.
Akira began to reply, but froze as he felt a anger trace circles on his abdomen. He frowned, but Akechi's guiltless smile didn't falter.
You don't have to worry, though.
Akechi spoke in soft, barely audible breaths. The circling motion stopped, replacing by a hand resting on his stomach. Akira couldn't tell whether it was Akechi's palm that felt hot, or if he was burning up inside. He tensed as the hand slid down an inch.
I'm not going to hurt you.
At least, not right now, Akira added on in his head, but even so, he kept silent as Akechi's hand slid lower and lower and lower.
Hey.
Akira stifled a sharp breath as Akechi's fingertips slid underneath the waistband of his boxers. He looked down at himself, aware that neither he nor anyone else could see under the duvet cover. His chest was pounding. Why are you just letting this happen? Akira glanced back over at Akechi, and his eyes widened in shock. Akechi's nonchalant, innocent smile had been replaced by a beaming grin that could only be described as devious. His eyes twinkled in the moonlight, sparkling in a way that made shivers shoot up Akira's spine. Any plan to tell the detective to stop seemed trapped in the back of his throat, words failing him. Akira bit his lip. Akechi licked his own. The rest of Akechi's hand slid into his boxers, and he fought back a moan. He realized he was half hard, and the way Akechi...
Just half hard? It's okay, hold on. So... Okay, how do I explain half hard to a woman that doesn't have a penis? Just continue at this point. Just fucking continue.
I'm figuring out where I was at.
He realized he was half hard.
Okay.
How do you forget?
Because I thought I was the other spot. He realized he was half hard, and the way Akechi curled his fingers around his length served only to send his pulse racing faster. Akira felt the hand begin to move and pressed his own hand over his mouth to smother the tiny whimpers that escaped. Akechi's achingly slow pace made knots curl on his stomach, made the heat in his core burn harder. All the while, as his patience began to strain, Akechi just continued to smirk, eyes shining, humming playfully under his breath. Nervously, Akira quickly scanned the room. As far as he could tell, everyone else was fast asleep. As he looked away, Akechi snickered and leaned closer, lips grazing Akira's neck. His humming vibrated against his neck, and Akira struggled to hold in a groan, his abdomen tightening up. Akechi laughed almost inaudibly. Is that it? Inaudibly? Inaudibly. Then opened his lips and pressed against Akira harder, sucking at the joint between his neck and shoulder. Akira winced slightly. It only stung a little, overwhelmed by the heat in his stomach bubbling over. His cock was now fully hard in Akechi's grasp.
So it's not this anymore.
It's...
Two boners. Wait, hold on.
No homo.
This is the butthole.
Akira jerked his hips up slightly, desperate for Akechi to start stroking him faster. The detective ignored him, still kissing his neck roughly, darting his tongue over the skin caught in his mouth. Akira could feel him breathing heavily onto his neck. He couldn't see through the covers, but he guessed Akechi was probably hard as well. Pulling away from Akira's neck, Akechi panted softly, eyes half-lidded. He left a decently sized bruise, swiping over it with his tongue one last time. And then, still teasing his hand up and down, he darted under the covers.
Whoa! He literally, I'm imagining like him like this, and all of a sudden, you know, like in a cartoon where it goes, right? Like that's what he did.
Akira could only see vague movement underneath. He couldn't tell what Akechi was up to, but the general mound traveled down the side of the bed, and then Kira felt the detective use his other hand to climb over his right leg. So now Akechi was between them, and Akira hissed involuntarily as his boxers were yanked down, exposing him. At this, he realized what was about to happen and steeled himself, clamping his hand firmly down his mouth. He still moaned louder than what he wanted to when Akechi's lips closed over the tip of his cock.
Hey, just the tip. Ay. Okay, so remember in the Lance fanfic when Lance did finger guns? Ryuji will kind of be like, hey, I'm gonna bang you, baby. Ay. Smoothest with words.
Akechi, with his hand still working steadily, slid his tongue over the slit, his chest puffing up as he heard the reaction. Pausing his hand at the base, he slid his lips off and trailed a line of wet, messy kisses down Akira's length. Each one made Akira breathe sharply through his nose, his free hand digging into the mattress, bed sheets bunched up in his fingers. He still wasn't sure what the hell was going on, but fuck. Akechi knew what he was doing.
Yeah, Akechi's a whore like that.
Akechi knew what he was doing?
Yeah, listen, I'm just as confused, bro.
Akira lost his train of thought again as Akechi suddenly took a few inches into his mouth, bobbing his head with a decent pace. He could feel Akechi's saliva dripping down his cock,
Ooh.
Akechi's free hand digging into his thigh for support, Akechi's tongue swirling ravenously around the tip. Akechi knew what he was doing.
Hey.
The thought flashed back into Akira's mind, and the implications bothered him. Goro Akechi, ace detective, pride of the public eye, innocent, honest, calm, and composed, a paragon of good behavior. Obviously, not all of these things were true, or else Akechi would never be working with the Phantom Thieves. But of all the secrets the detective had... Akira sat himself up and lifted the cover slightly so he could see Akechi. He looked up, still drooling over Akira's length, the twinkle in his eye obscured by the darkness. The look on his face, Akira was still very much burning up inside, but that look lit another flame, and he quietly cleared his throat to speak. Hey, Akechi. He glanced over to make sure he didn't wake anyone.
I love what the next sentence is.
Akechi didn't stop bobbing his head, but he moaned in acknowledgement.
Mm-hmm.
Since when were you such a slut?
Ooh. Alrighty.
Akechi paused his movements, blinking. He didn't pull off, simply froze with Akira's cock in his mouth.
Can you imagine being caught in that compromised position?
Akira could feel his tip teasing at the entrance to the detective's throat. He smirked and slid a hand down, curling his fingers into Akechi's disheveled hair. And when did I say you could stop anyway? As he said this, Akira pushed down,
Whoa!
forcing Akechi down on him completely, the detective's nose pressed against his stomach. Akira let out a strained groan as Akechi's throat tightened around him, but grimaced when he noticed how the detective wasn't gagging in the slightest.
Wow, he's taking his fair share of dicks in the mouth of his.
How much experience do you have at sucking cock anyway?
I'm sorry, this is really good.
Must be a lot if you're this greedy. Akira teased the detective some more, jerking his hips up a few times.
I feel like all my dialogue is like... Yeah, I'll just gonna keep drinking all the time.
Akechi's eyes rolled back a little, and he appeared to be smiling. This made Akira feel an unfamiliar mix of pride and anger. Proud that he could make Akechi act like this. Angry that he had fallen for Akechi's teasing the same way of just minutes prior. Now he had to make him pay for that.
Ooh. I hope the microphone picked that up. Oh my god, I don't know what that was.
Okay.
Oh boy. Oh man, I've got some words that I won't be saying.
Akira pulled Akechi off him in one clean motion, sneering at the trails of drool and pre-cum dripping from Akechi's lips. He panted heavily, tongue lolling out of his mouth, the corner still slightly upturned in a grin. Akira dropped him lazily, and then adjusted himself and leaned down to whisper into his ear, "If you want more, and I know you do, we better go downstairs."
Damn, man. See, you really are a true Protag cosplayer. You did it.
Upon hearing this, Akechi nodded
Akechi nodded argly.
Akechi...
A lot of this has been you, so it's been great.
Akechi nodded eagerly, breath still labored, and threw the covers off his back. Akira jerked his head over the stairway, signaling you first, and Akechi hurriedly climbed off the bed, stepping carefully over a sound-asleep Ryuji, sneaking across the attic floor, and then tiptoeing down the stairs. Akira made sure to do the same, and as he followed Akechi, he marveled at how easily he'd taken control. Yeah, pretty sure that's what he wanted me to do. And shit, so do I. Taking care to avoid the creakiest step, Akira made it safely down to LeBlanc's shop floor, smirking at the hungry expression Akechi still looked at him with. He still had ribbons of saliva seeping down his chin, his mouth still agape? Agape and panting.
Akira.
Akechi whined, dropping to his knees in the dark as Akira approached him, balling his fists in the detective's hair. You never did answer my question, did you? So tell me, he snarled. How much practice at this do you have? Akira pulled him in such that the underside of his cock rested across his face.
Damn!
What? Did you blow your way into special investigations? Akechi giggled, slightly shaking his head.
Only for you,
Akira raised an eyebrow up amused. For me? What? Did you go whore yourself out in the red light district so you can get yourself face fucked? Akechi kept giggling, but a soft blush bloomed over his cheeks.
No, but...
Akira spaced out, an image forming in his mind. Akechi, sneaking into a dimly lit shop in Shinjuku. Akechi, blushing, placed a toy on the counter, knowing the shop owner won't ask. Akechi, fumbling with the key to his apartment. Akechi, still half-dressed in his work uniform, gagging and choking on his new purchase, not stopping until he knows he can take it all. Akechi, whining and shaking as he prepares himself. Man, that's a lot of Akechi, jeez. Akechi, prim and proper TV star, inches of silicone rubber down his bulging throat, moaning uncontrollably, eyes watering, hand grabbing at the cock, hips bucking as he pushes himself over the edge. Holy shit. Akira felt himself jump back into reality, now harder than ever, and quickly dragged Akechi by his hair, sitting down by a table and positioning him at the tip of his length. The detective stared at him with glazed-over eyes, mouth still hanging open, a portrait of complete lust.
Akira, please.
Akira glanced down, and as expected, Akechi's hardness is easily visible through his underwear.
Nice.
He snickered, leaned forward, and breathed commands into Akechi's ear. This is what you wanted, right? Akechi whines, and Akira takes it as a yes. Well, go on then. And if you're lucky... He paused to lick a stripe up the side of Akechi's neck, elicting a long, drawn-out moan. Then maybe, when you're done, I'll reward you.
Damn! Okay, listen. Let's just take a sip of our drinks to recover from what just happened. So you basically picked up on what he did, right? He bought a dildo and he learned to suck dick.
Yep, with the dildo.
With the dildo. With the doll dill.
With the doll dill.
Yeah. Alrighty, continue.
Okay. This is enough for Akechi to lose what little composure remained, and the detective forced Akira's cock down his throat, fingers leaving bruises on his hips as he held himself there before beginning to move. This time, there was no slow or steady about it. Akechi rocked his head back and forth with a haphazard, quivering thrusts. His eyes rolled back entirely, his drool-lathered chin got messier by the second, his tongue lapped greedily at the underside of Akira's length. And holy shit, he was good. Akira's moans escaped him so harshly he briefly panicked, thinking someone would hear. Then Akechi caught him with another harsh deep throat, and all caution abandoned him. He gripped the corner of the table with such force he thought it might break, his other hand behind him to stop him from collapsing in complete bliss. He felt himself boil over inside and knew exactly what he had to do. After one last squeeze from Akechi's throat, Akira seized him by the hair, dragged him back, and shook violently as he crossed over the edge. Thick ribbons of cum shot across the detective's face, landing messily over his sweat-soaked face, dipping into his tangled fringe, and Akechi giggled gleefully as he caught the last of it in his mouth.
Nice, dude. He's like a circus trick.
Opening up to show Akira with a perverted sense of pride. Akira himself wheezed heavily, breathless and spent, whilst white stars shooting across the darkness whenever he closed his eyes. that was... Fuck, Akechi.
You are really enjoying this. You are really getting into this.
It's Akechi good. He looked down at his mess through one eye, grinning. Akechi looked up at him, shamelessly swirling his tongue around his mouth, savoring Akira's taste. Give me one moment. My jaw's like starting to hurt really bad.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you need me to read?
No, I think I can do it.
Okay.
I'm just turning around because I don't want to be like, what the fuck are you doing? We have to make sure let's fix that. Okay. What was that? Okay. Okay. They both remained still for several seconds, catching their breath, gaining the strength to function. When both of them were able to breathe through their noses again, Akechi mumbled, stroking Akira's leg and looking up at him with pleading eyes.
Can I?
Akira looked blankly at him, gauging his desperation. Then he smirked and gently pushed Akechi back with his foot, lying him down on the floor. I'd say you've earned your reward. Climbing down off the seat and sitting between Akechi's legs, Akira quickly hooked his finger under the detective's waistband and yanked his underwear down, past his knees and off his ankles. Akechi shivered as his cock sprung free, exposed to the air. Akira took no time in wrapping his hand around the base and beginning to quickly jerk up and down, drawing a series of high, pinched whimpers from his captive. Akechi gasped and lurched back as Akira used his other hand to tease at his entrance, one finger slowly pressing its way in, then another, and then a third, each one making Akechi gasp and hiss louder as he was spread open.
That's this much. That is this much.
Then Akira found the sweet spot and pushed it sharply. Akechi's legs thrashed at Akira's sides as he jerked and buckled, moaning loudly enough that Akira was almost certain someone would hear. He didn't give a shit anymore. Seeing Akechi like this was fucking beautiful. So much so that his own legs started to twitch between his legs again, and he moaned softly, leaning down to whisper playfully in Akechi's ear. Guess whose lucky day it is? Akira sing-songed in the detective's ear, slipping his fingers out and steadying his cock with that hand, lining the tip up with Akechi's entrance. Feeling this, Akechi's breath hitched in his throat, excitement swirling with anxiety.
Before I read this line, I want to ask, so what's harder for you? Akechi being a little whore, or Akira being this demanding?
Both. But if I gotta pick one, it's Akechi.
Be a little bitch ass bitch.
Taking up the booty.
Damn, son. Alrighty. Ooh. Man, we got some loading we gotta do.
Oh boy.
Akira,
Don't worry. I know. Akira hummed mock innocently. It might hurt a little at first, but you'll know it'll feel good soon. I promise. And without giving Akechi the chance to brace himself, Akira pushed the first half of his, now fully hard again, cock inside him.
That's a parentheses.
That's the no, you have to know. Grinning with his inner sadist as Akechi arched backwards, almost screaming in a mix of pain and pleasure. Akira lined himself with the sweet spot again and, leaning down to steady his movements, began to thrust roughly into Akechi, groaning happily whenever he hit his target. Akechi's mind was going blank, and any and all other thoughts replaced with pangs of ecstasy and waves of heat. He could barely control himself, but gathered up the motor skills to stroke his otherwise neglected length, no rhyme or reason to his erratic jerks.
Fuck, Akira.
Akechi.
Right, damn. We are making fanboys and fangirls blush.
With one last hard thrust, Akechi reached his peak and shook wildly as he came, stripes of white coating his stomach and torso, chest heaving as he became breathless once again. As he writhed and squirmed, Akira also reached his orgasm, groaning hungrily as he felt himself flood Akechi's inside, pulling out and watching his cum splatter the detective's thighs. Collapsing by Akechi's side, the two dragged heavy breaths in through a gaped mouth, both clutching their stomachs. Oh no, I just read that. 20 minutes later, and Akira followed Akechi back up the stairs. They had traded their sweat and otherwise stained clothes for spares in the back room, folding the others up and hiding them out of Sojiro's potential reach, Akira vowing to sneak them into the laundromat in the morning. Akechi carefully stepped through the mounds of pillows and people, climbing back into bed and planting his back against the wall, allowing Akira plenty of room to get back in. Akira followed him, clambering back onto the mattress, but as Akechi lay down, Akira snuck an arm underneath him, pulling him in for a soft kiss. Oh. Akechi giggled and reciprocated, their mouths interlocking for a few seconds before pulling apart.
Oh no.
Akira laid flat on his back, and Akechi rolled onto his side, hanging his arm over Akira's waist and slotting his head into the crook of his neck, and Akira's arm reached around the detective's back to pull him closer. They lay like this for several seconds, and when Akira felt Akechi's breath get heavier on his skin, he chuckled. Of course they'd be able to sleep easy now. Just before Akira closed his own eyes, he glanced once more over the room, a sigh of relief escaping his lips. That, unfortunately, was when he made eye contact and saw the incredulous look on Ryuji's face.
For real?
You guys banged?
Yo! You got your dick sucked? For real? Woo!
Woo! Yes, I had to end it like that. That goddamn is hilarious.
Goddamn, that was awesome.
That was good.
So we did it, boys.
Did it. That was good stuff.
So I'm about to say, what did you think of that fanfic?
That was actually really good. The person really portrayed them pretty well. I will say that.
I may not be a fan of Akechi, but he was a little slut.
That's a good guy.
Be a little slut-ass slut.
Hey, when you really want that dick, man.
Listen, the craving for the D
It's too free.
allows for everything to go free. When you want to feel like you're free, you're going to crave Akira's D.
That's a good rhyme.
Thank you guys
rhyme.
for enjoying that. Please tune in Friday for a non-smut. At least I don't think it's a
I
smut.
think it's fluff
It might be a fluff.
of Akira and Yusuke.
Yusuke!
Fox boy.
Yeah, dude, so we'll be Matthew Mercer and Xander Mobius.
They're gonna be yipping all day long.
I'm sorry, that is banging. Excuse me.
Yipping.
Thank you guys so much. I hope you enjoyed. And until next time, fuck, Akira.
Oh, fuck, Akechi.
We fucking...
Oh, Akechi.
For real?